Jeez, with how much they're pushing this pastry, you'd almost think it was all part of some big marketing campaign. Oh. Well, I guess they did give a few thousand kids diabetes with Kira. What's a few hundred more, I guess? So, after a pretty interesting space exploration episode where our heroines encountered an alien species with a very different culture and traditions than our own, this week's episode opened with them landing back on Earth. Woo. I mean, I get the importance of needing to resupply and attending their classes, but kind of undermine this whole space theme of your show that has star in its name. Well, anyway, since Tenjo had found their original hiding spot, Lala landed her ship in a new location that, for some reason, was surrounded by a crescent moon-shaped pond. Guys, I think you might have landed on the private property of a certain other magical girl. Either that, or maybe it's some subtle foreshadowing as to who's going to be the focus cure of this episode. Also, this week's opening surprisingly had yet another preview for Miracle Universe. Guys, the movie's been out for a few weeks now. I think you've advertised it more than enough already. Though I will admit, Harry with that goofy siren helmet does kind of entertain me. Anyway, the actual episode opened with Madoka returning home to her tightwad dad. He gave her the usual spiel about how she should practice her archery more and that they had sighted Lala's ship leaving the planet. Really nothing much new, though I will admit this was a well-animated scene. I especially like the shot of her father leaving, even though I question how that door closed on its own. Yeah, they're rich, maybe they installed an automatic door. The main takeaway from the scene was of course that Madoka was under a lot of stress, which we already kind of knew. These anxieties followed her into the next day when she messed up during English class. Conveniently, this was also where we managed to learn that she and Elena were classmates. Madoka took notice of her teammate when she showed off some of her extracurricular abilities.
Excuse me, but what page are we on?
Though she didn't have much time to dwell on this, as after school she had about 1,001 commitments to her name, including her studies, archery, and the student council. With so much on her plate, it came as no surprise when she tried to get her mind off of all of it by cleaning Lala's ship. At the very least, it seemed to act as a stress reliever, which did seem to work as she managed to land a good shot during her archery practice. Can you tell that they're trying to portray this guy as a bit of a putz? Seriously, I don't want to use the Inside Out clip, but haven't we seen a scene like this before? The next day, Madoka discovered that she had made a grave error. She was wearing slightly mismatched socks! Oh my god! Madoka, compared to a couple of your teammates, it's really not that big a deal. Later, after changing into what I think were her sports socks, Madoka slightly dozed off during a student council meeting. She managed to cover it up from everyone, except for our conspiracy nut of the season, Sakurako, who, oh that face. Well, it's not exactly on Miyuki's level, but it's at least worth an honorable mention. After school, as she was about to head home, Madoka was intercepted by Hikaru. Recognizing that her friend was under a lot of stress, she invited her to go out with her for a bit. Well, I guess it was a good time today to push one of the less traditional ships for this show. Actually, she was taking her to meet Lala at the shopping district that Madoka had admitted to never going to at the top of the episode. In the background, Sakurako had seen all of this through her binoculars, and as a running gag for the episode, she always left stress marks on her eyelids from pressing down too hard on them. It's a little funny, even though I'm pretty sure those marks shouldn't be as big as the binoculars themselves. However, this little stalker apparently has a stalker of her own. And yeah, unfortunately, this is going to lead into another Monster of the Week fight. Okay, I realize I kind of overreacted the last time I1 appeared and introduced the first Monster of the Week into the show. People kept telling me that the other generals were going to stick with their thing, while I1 would just keep to her gimmick of summoning monsters, and so far that seems to be the case. I guess I just wanted to see them go all the way with this no Monsters of the Week thing, but I guess it's not the worst thing ever. All of that said, Miss One, let me have the honor of telling you that...
You are the dumbest, smart person I have ever met in my life.
You know that the Precure can purify the dark pens by simply touching them. And as one of my commenters pointed out, that's the last thing you'd want to do in a situation where your whole mission is to keep these things away from the good guys. So why create a scenario where that could easily happen? Unless this is all part of some big gambit on down the line, which I doubt based on her reaction after this week's fight. This all feels like the writers are just giving the Precure more pens to sell. I mean, use as a part of their arsenal. Yeah, that's it. Anyway, back with our heroines. After an admittedly cute montage of them just perusing through the shopping district, they ran into Elena and her siblings. And they all sat down to enjoy the titular edible rings of friendship. Fua, being Fua, just ate her donuts in front of Elena's siblings, who still believe she was just an actual plushie. Well, to be fair, my sister did own a few dolls that had eating and drinking gimmicks, and they were all absolutely disgusting because they also involved what comes afterwards. Elena and Madoka had a pretty good back and forth discussing how they admired Hikaru and each other. Though this talk also highlighted a problem I have with this episode, but more on that during the episode summary. Main takeaway was that Madoka felt as though she didn't have much control over her own life between all of her commitments, and that she might not be able to fulfill her duties as a Precure as a result. Elena, of course, assured her that wasn't the case and gave the bog standard "you can rely on your team" speech. And they managed to wrap up this little talk at the perfect time as Madoka's pendant started pointing towards the Capricorn zodiac. They followed it to I1's dark pen and oh come on, that design is just lazy. It's just a gray Oshimaida with Sakurako's hair. They didn't even bother giving it any other feminine features like a creepy girly voice or something. Oshimaida. So they engaged an Outriger that used its hair as cannons, even though it should obviously be more of a drill attack. And after throwing off its balance with multiple finishers and a distraction by Hikaru, Madoka managed to shoot the dark pen out of I1's hand and have it passed to her by Elena. Using the new pen, Madoka powered up her finisher by adding a creepy goat's head to her bow. Seriously, why is it that only Lala has a fairly impressive star pen attack? Anyway, they defeated the hair cannons and rescued Sakurako. And of course, then came the new Fua form, complete with goatee, and meeting the princess who had a really deep voice that does not match that design at all. And the episode ended with Madoka having grown closer to her team and starting to refer to them by first name. While there was some good animation this week, compliments of Ken Ueno, I feel as though they didn't go all the way with what's supposed to be a Madoka-focused episode. Now that's not to say I think this is a bad episode, there was just some wasted potential here. While I do think it's important to establish the effects of Madoka's hectic lifestyle, I also think they spent one too many scenes trying to hammer this point in. Why give us yet another scene of her father complaining that her archery game was a little off, especially when we opened the episode with him lecturing Madoka? Scenes like this could have been sacrificed to establish more of her connections with the rest of her team, in particular, Elena. Shipping jokes aside, these two have an interesting dynamic as suggested by their Precure motifs. They're the sun and the moon, two almost polar opposites except for the fact that both act as beacons of light. Maybe they'll get their own duet episode on down the line, but here they could have built up to this talk between the two more. As during said talk, Madoka mentioned how she admired how Elena helped around her house. I guess her cleaning Lala's ship was kind of building to this, but I think it would have been more effective to maybe have a scene where Madoka passed by Elena and her siblings and admired her connection with them. In general, I think Madoka needed at least one more scene of her interacting with her team, especially if they're going to have yet another message about teamwork near the end. This did lead to one of the better fights of the series so far, with the Precure using actual strategy to isolate I1 and the Dark Pen. Even though, as I said, it's pretty dumb of her to use a double-edged sword like the Dark Pens, which are a far greater liability than anything else. That and the design of her monster was so awful that they didn't even bother to include I1's summoning animation. And while I still really like Madoka as a character and relate with her situation of trying to live up to everyone's high expectations, I just don't want them to focus too much on this one aspect of her character. Here's hoping there's more to this girl, like there's more than just a crescent moon. Sorry to say, a couple of my next reviews are going to be delayed as convention season is rolling around for me. Next week is going to be a local con, so that should only really delay the review by a day or two at best. And then Easter weekend, I'm going to a con on the mainland. Still, even then, I'll try to get that review up by the Wednesday of that week, so look forward to all of that, as well as a special review in a few days to fill in the gap before I get to All-Stars Memories. And until then, though, farewell for now, my friends, and good luck with the Meiji restoration.